Welcome to All Things Moore County, Moore County's weekly radio show highlighting the many facets of the Sandhills. That includes real estate, lifestyle, community and neighborhoods. And now from 4 Properties, here's your host, Bill Sahadi.
Good morning and welcome to the talk show, All Things Moore County. Dorothy,
Yes.
They have shot us out of a cannon for 2018. We are starting to get a lot of calls for people who want to come on the show. The holidays it's hard sometimes, during the holiday season to get people because they're traveling, they have family.
There's so much going on during the holidays.
And we have a whole group of shows coming up in the next couple of weeks. And one quick note I do want to make. Next week, on the 3rd of March, we're going to actually be doing our show live from the Fair Barn.
Ooh.
We're going to be at the Moore County Home Builders Show. It's going to be next Sunday and next Saturday, the 3rd and 4th. And we're going to be there live from 10 to 12 for 2 hours. Al Mangum will be joining me, and we'll be talking to a lot of the participants at this year's show, and it's always a great way to kick off the spring season.
It is.
Although this week,
I
think we're in summer.
It feels like it, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's crazy. So the weather this time of the year, the Super Bowl is over. People are saying, what am I going to do now on a Sunday afternoon? There's no more NFL. And spring training breaks out, and people start looking forward, to the next season and the next season. And we're going to be talking today about the Carolina Baseball Shack.
Oh.
Which a lot of people might have heard of, but they're going to learn a lot more about it today. And again, the timing is great with spring season coming up.
Yes.
I have 3 very distinguished, well, 2 for sure, very distinguished guests, and Rodney Swarms. No, Rodney, that's not true. Rodney, I'm going to give you a hard time. Excuse me. Rodney has been a past guest on the show and is a very respected plumbing contractor in Moore County. And Rodney opened the Carolina Baseball Shack as the Hack Shack 6 years ago.
Yes, sir.
Is that right? And the idea to open the baseball facility came after you spent a lot of time with your son driving back and forth to a similar facility in Greensboro.
Yes, sir. Scott Bankhead has a facility up there next to the airport.
How old was your son at the time you were driving him?
8 years old.
So
I think he's 14 now.
Yeah. So you felt a need to create a similar training center here in the local area, and give us a quick overview of how the seeds were sown, but you executed.
Well, Robert McDaniel and I used to drive up there.
Yeah.
And we got to talking one day. Why can't we do something out of our shop? And that's where it was really all born. Now there were 2 other facilities in the area. Is that right, Ray? One on 211, and they're out of business now. So we didn't feel we could start a business. We wanted to make it kind of a side business, but it's grown into a pretty big business.
Okay. Well, you mentioned Ray. Let me introduce Ray and Rob. Ray Baer is a sports performance coach who has trained athletes in all sports, not just in baseball. He has extensive experience as a strength and conditioning coach for professional sports teams, including the Kansas City Royals, the Atlanta Braves, minor league teams, and the Cleveland Indians. You've also been the strength coach for the Atlanta Thrashers NHL Hockey Club. You have certifications in weightlifting and strength and conditioning. And are you a native of our area?
No, sir. I'm from Ohio originally.
How did you get to Moore County?
By the grace of God.
Really?
Yeah, really. Just through looking to leave professional sports.
Leave professional sports?
I was looking to leave professional sports, and a position opened up within the military that I was recruited for, and so that's what brought me to the area.
How many years did you put in as a strength and
before I came here?
coach?
Before I came here, I was 15 years in professional sports as a strength and conditioning
15
coach.
years.
Yeah, and then I've been here almost 8 years.
Yeah. Have you ever seen a county like Moore County that has such a good subculture of wellness?
No, actually, it's
crazy,
pretty
isn't it?
surprising. Yeah, it is. It's really good though. It's the kids here and really you can go out at any time. Especially I live in Pinehurst, so
Yeah.
you always see people running and walking, and it's inviting. It's not real busy, so it makes it nice.
Make you feel really young. When I first came here in 1979, I was the youngest person in Moore County, and I had quads that worked. Today, as people get older, their legs they shuffle. But with all the young people moving into town and the demographics, there's so many people in such great condition. The physical fitness is all over the place in so many different ways. How did you and Rodney hook up? How'd you meet?
Through baseball, we both coached in the Sandhills Optimist Club in baseball, and never coached with each other, always against each other.
Yeah.
He kicked dirt on me no, not really. No, we just coached against each other. That's how we met, and he had the Hack Shack open at the time, and then just through conversations that just led us down the road of going over to his place to train.
You have children?
I do. I have 4.
Boys, girls?
I have 2 boys, 15 and 13, and 2 girls that are 10 and 7.
So let me just take a wild guess. Your 2 boys play baseball. Just a wild guess.
No, they don't.
Really?
They did. They did.
Never
And-
ask a question you don't know the answer to, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
they did, but they kind of it passed them. My one boy plays football.
Okay.
Actually, they both play football, and then one of them they both play recreational basketball, and then they decided to do other things. So they're trying lacrosse,
Okay.
which is quite interesting. But they figured they're not good enough for baseball, which I tried to convince them differently. But they just have other interests.
Sometimes kids do the opposite of what their dad did, right?
Yeah.
Just to go another direction.
They do.
Isn't that right?
Yeah.
The third part of the group, Rob Wooten. Wooten.
Yes.
Rob played professional baseball for over 10 seasons. You had stints with the Milwaukee Brewers, the Atlanta Braves, and the Cincinnati Reds. I remember you, too, by the way. We were talking a little bit before the show in my affiliation or my love of the Mets. But you attended UNC. You played in 3 College World Series. You were drafted by the Brewers in 2008, and you made your Major League Baseball debut in 2013. You played in Japan.
It was an MLB All-Star event. It's called the MLB Japan Tour.
Uh-huh.
We took a team of MLB All-Stars, which I'm not saying I'm an MLB All-Star, but I got selected to play on a very neat trip to Japan back in 2014 with a bunch of established major leaguers. It was pretty cool.
And you played in Venezuela, the Dominican Republic. Tell me, you had Tommy John surgery?
I'm currently recovering from the second Tommy John surgery.
Really?
Had it in May.
What are your future plans?
I'm still with the Reds. I will be leaving here shortly to ramp up my rehab in Arizona and hope to return by about the All-Star break, middle of July.
Are you a resident of Moore County now?
My family and I reside in Sanford, actually.
Okay.
But make the trip here most days.
And I ask you the same question. How did you all hook up?
So years ago, a local kid, Nick Pry, is actually going to UNC.
Yeah.
He was having a little bit of an injury, and I had worked with Nick in the early. It was really, really young, actually. And he asked me to meet him at the Hack Shack to do some training for pitching. So that's kind of how we met. And then it kind of led to one thing. Then I kind of came there. It was like one night a week through probably for the next 3 or 4 years. I'd come one night a week to help some local kids. And then when I had the surgery this year and was home for most of the summer, Rodney and I talked quite a bit. We started to come up with ideas. We advertised a little bit of what that I was home and was doing some private training with pitchers, and kind of led to one thing after another. Then we co-founded the Carolina Baseball Shack. We changed the name, changed the brand, and here we are.
Wow. The three of you are trying to provide something that didn't exist here in Moore County, huh? That's where this inspiration came from?
Yes, sir. We're really about developing young men. Rob and I were talking about it. The three of us have talked about it before, but a lot of kids come to us and they want to be baseball players, and that's great. But not all of them are going to be baseball players, but they're all going to be young men one day. So we're really using baseball as a character-building opportunity.
Yeah.
And that's what's really driving us. So
It's almost, it's like a mentorship program and a character building. It's similar to the First Tee program, or more focused on baseball specific?
it's baseball specific. There's mentoring. The kids probably don't know what we're doing, but we're very clear with the parents. They sign agreements, contracts with us that what we're going to do. But today, and Ray, you can help me out, but a lot of kids play baseball, but they're not taught how to play baseball. And then you've got guys like Jeff Hewitt with Pinehurst who will call me up. He called me last week. About a young man, and kid doesn't know how to play baseball, but yet he's been in the system for 8 years because they're just getting passed through. They're just playing games and not being developed. That's wrong.
Yeah.
We're trying to kill two birds with one stone.
And what is the age group of the kids that you have in the program?
8 all the way to 18. Like Nick Prize, he comes quite a bit. He's 18.
Yeah.
So.
Not to mention Dylan Maples,
Yeah.
major leaguer
Yeah,
for
that's
the
true.
Chicago Cubs.
Right. He was a
he works
product.
out there. Yep, he works out there with
Yeah.
Ray. Trains with Ray.
Yeah.
I train with Ray.
So you guys both bring a different skill set to the table for these kids, right? One-on-one. There's a lot. I mean, as a kid, I loved baseball. My eyeballs would open if I had somebody. You were a strength and conditioning coach. So you work with the kids in a way that develops their bodies, and they understand, they learn the physicality of what they're doing in the training.
Yes, sir.
They call me sir. I'm not that old. Call me Bill. Okay.
Yes, Bill.
Okay.
What we've done is over the years, it's kind of it's really interesting how this all developed, because it never was supposed to develop like this. I was not, nor have I been, baseball specific in my training, and I've been working out at the Hack Shack with kids for several years. But very few baseball players. You know, Nick Pry, I've been working with him since he was in 7th grade, and his sister Maddie Pry, and I've been working with both of them for quite a long time. But a lot of the kids that I started working with at the Hack Shack at the time was all kids who were going to a different level. They were all leaving high school, and they were going to a higher level through scholarship or trying to attain, the higher goals. Dylan Maples, for example, and major leagues, and Sean Pollard. So a lot of football players would come over after the season and work with me. A lot of softball players. I've had tennis players, the Landrys. I've worked with them extensively.
Oh, have you really?
Yeah.
He's mentioning so many past guests on the show. Sean Pollard was a guest on the show with Chris Metzger once, and we just had Emma Gentry on a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I love her to death.
No kidding. What a small world.
Her and her sister and her brother. So
all of them.
All of them, yeah. So I've worked with all different sports. And it's really about, I don't make anybody better at
the sport
their
itself.
specific sport. No, it's not a skills base. I try to get them more athletic so that the skills are enhanced. So learning your body, what's neglected, where are your deficiencies. Let's point out your deficiencies. Let's work on those. Let's do a preventative program. Let's get you better, well-rounded, so that your skills coach can actually take you to a higher level.
So you're like an MRI machine. You can read right through somebody and then find their weaknesses and then say, okay, we're going to develop different muscle groups and flexibility to be trained more specifically once they get into baseball?
Correct. And we have fun with it. We have a lot of things over that we utilize that you don't need a lot to utilize. It's the personal one-on-one or the personal relationships that you build with these kids that they learn to trust you and they want to work. And that's the requirement that I have. Don't come to me just because your parents want to. I don't want to train you. I want you to do it. I want the kids to want to do it.
Okay. So I have a question.
Yes.
So we live in an area where you have on one extreme, you have the CrossFit mentality. On the other extreme, you have the yoga mentality. Now, how do you marry the two? Because there are so many different people who will swear by one extreme or the other.
Sure.
And there's got to be a blend, right? It can't just be all to one side or the other.
You're trying to give me a loaded question here, so
No, I'm not.
With Mary Ann Manning sitting in the background.
And it's honestly everything. All those they'll have their place. I've been in sports for 20 plus years. I've only trained athletes. I don't train the layperson. I don't train the mom and dad. That's not what we're about. I want to train for the athletic part of it, and that is not your CrossFit, and that is not your yoga. Those are places. Those are different things, but we need to work on sound methodologies. Everything I do is science-based. My degree's in exercise science, sports medicine. Everything has its place, but nothing's just off the top of my head. Now, some of the implements that we'll use, we'll throw in the top of the head. But what we've got to do is we've got to be able to look at what do you want to do, what do you want to accomplish, what are your goals, and then we build a program off of that. And it's a periodized program. There's very methodical. We got in season, we got out of season. But what ultimately is your goal? I'm not going to make you a pro player or a college player. That's up to you. I'm just hoping to get you, as Rob has said, to the next level. That we're trying to get you to one level above maybe where you would have done if you were not by yourself. And if that's the major leagues, and that's where hopefully you can get to.
So in this conversation, I can already see why this would be very attractive to kids whose parents want them to get discipline training that is not just, hey, go out and play baseball. It's the body, the mind, and then the more specific training, which we'll get into in the second set. When you first started, yoga was not a big part of it. Was not, but today, has it crept into the?
Well, yoga's always been there.
I'm going to go over. I can't help it. I'm not going to. I want to hear what he has to say. We'll go to the break in a minute. Okay.
I mean, yoga's already has always been there, and there's always been a place for it. So I think, if you look back through history, yoga's been around for a long, long time.
Yeah.
I've recommended it to athletes. Now I'm not a yoga instructor, and I'm not good at it. You can watch me; I can barely bend over to touch my toes, and I don't quite make it there. But it does have a place, and I think it has it serves a great role in there, but that's one piece to the puzzle.
Right.
There's a lot of pieces to that puzzle that you got to be able to put together, and that's what I want to be able to help a kid do is if he's 8 years old, teach him to learn his body, to learn how to put his body together through the bottom to the top so that Rob gets him, he can throw more efficiently. He's not going to have issues with shoulders or hips or things like that. An 18-year-old who's kind of set in his ways, well, let's break it down. What do you need more work on? Then with Rob and Dylan and these guys, they have a lot of issues. Once you get to the major league level, it's fine-tuning what they have, and you got to have an eye for that, and you got to be able to adapt to all the kids and all their ability levels. But me having 4 kids myself helps me to really deal with that mentality at a younger age, and so.
One more question and we'll go to break. So strength and conditioning, how do you do that without talking also about nutrition?
Well, that's definitely a big piece of that. And over the past several years, I've been very fortunate to have a great dietitian that I use quite often. So I bring her into the picture, and we educate not just the kids, because the kids are going to eat it. And they're going to eat whatever mom and dad fix.
Right.
We want to educate the parents, and we want to educate the parents on how to, if there's issues, that there's a deficiency in what they're eating, but also with what they're fixing on a daily basis. What's a pregame meal look like? What's a postgame meal, post-practice? All those things have to play. And why? Yeah, and there's always those questions that we want answered. Luckily that I have a lot of people a lot smarter than me that I can go to help with that, and that's one big resource we can use.
That's great conversation. Thank you. We're going to come back in the second set. We're talking about the Carolina Baseball Shack, and we're going to shift gears a little bit and talk to Rob Wooten about some of the specifics once the engine is put in front of you, what you do with it, right?
Right. Absolutely.
You'll be on the whole second set. He said, what am I
Ready.
doing here? We'll be back in a second. Thank you. Welcome back to our second set of All Things Moore County. We're talking all about the Carolina Baseball Shack. Fascinating conversation, all about performance and training, conditioning. It seems to me like the Carolina Baseball Shack sort of represents the PhD of so many different areas that go into the development of an athlete. Ray Bear brings a lot to the table, and even though it's not only baseball specific, it's certainly baseball specific.
Yeah, very much so.
For the right person.
Correct.
So you develop the engine, you educate the engine, and then you pass it on to Rob Wooden, who's sitting to my right.
Yes.
Who brings to the table, you were a college pitcher at UNC, you were a Major League Baseball pitcher, and you're currently rehabbing from Tommy John surgery. You get these engines in front of you. What do you do with them? Where do you go from there?
Well, everyone's different. I have guys coming in that have never thrown a baseball before. I have guys that are coming in or trying to get to the next level, whether it's middle school, high school, college. Have guys that have aspirations to play in the big leagues. So everyone's different in where they're at in their development. So it depends. We break them down. We try to keep it as simple as possible, especially with the young kids. We try to make it fun. Number one, if they're not having fun, they're not going to learn anything. But we try to keep it simple as far as the mechanics. And I have a lot of dads come in and ask, hey, I really want my son to throw more strikes. And one of the things that I stress to them is when they repeat their delivery the same way over and over and over again, when they're consistent with that, they'll be consistent in the zone as far as throwing strikes. You can't just snap your finger and say, hey, throw strikes. There's work that goes behind that. So Ray and I do a really good job of working together. He can kind of come over to my area of our facility and watch a guy throw and kind of can pick something up where he could get stronger in the training side of it that could help him on the mound. So then we'll have a conversation with that kid, get that kid with Ray. So it's a really good it's a really good team that we have. But I mean, everyone's different. The older guys, we really break them down. We put them on video. We put them on slow motion. We draw lines. I mean, we do a lot of things. We have a list where we check off on the evaluation sheet where they could get better, where some of their inefficiencies are, their disconnections are, and then we have drills and put in place to correct those.
Rodney, when I was a kid, my dad used to always say to me, you want to be better, surround yourself with good people, and don't come home and tell me you beat this kid in tennis if he was had better ground strokes, but you were just a natural better athlete. So what?
Right.
So it sounds to me like this is serious. You put the kids in the best environment possible to learn, to see how far they can go.
Bill, it's too good to be true for me. We started this a long time ago, and Rob shows up at our doorstep. We develop a relationship. A few years later, Ray shows up. The whole time, Adam Freedy had been there. Adam's not here today. He's had a further,
right,
or had some work, I believe. Isn't that what it was? But anyway, to have all of these guys in the same room and to have everything that they bring to the table to help the kids get better, that's huge. I mean, I can't say enough about the 360 look that they give.
Mm-hmm. Is it all word of mouth from parent to parent, family to family, how to get their sons? And is this just sons, daughters, or just sons?
We are actually in the process right now. I'm actually talking to a softball instructor, so that is something that we definitely want to get started, especially in the near future. When I'm away, trying to get my season underway and get back to full health and back to the major leagues. It opens up a space for some softball, and I know how important that is in this area with the travel softball, just as important as it is with travel baseball. So that's something that we're definitely entertaining right now.
Right. So your work is one-on-one with these students of the game?
Yes, we have. I do a one-on-one, and I also have a package of kids of four, or groups of four. Obviously, the one-on-one is a little more hands-on. And then the groups of four is a little bit longer as far as the session, and we go over a lot of things as a group. We compete a little bit, especially with young kids. You gotta compete. I think that's one of the most important things. And if a kid's not having fun, like I said earlier, I'm playing a kid's game right now. I'm 32. I'm playing a kid's game. And
You're 32?
I'm 32.
Okay.
And as soon as I'm not having fun anymore, that's enough. It's not. But when I get to spring training or when I'm on the field, I mean, there's not a better place for me. So if these kids feel the same way in the Carolina Baseball Shack, that's kind of what we want. We want them to walk in there and have a smile on their face and be happy to be there.
Right.
That's when they're going to learn.
Tell them about the camps, too. You have camps occasionally.
Yes, we do. We do some camps. When I came in earlier this year, I had maybe 10 guys that I had worked with over the years. Since May, since I got home, or maybe starting in June, I've had over 75 come in, different clients that come in and work with me. So we put some camps together. It's basically, like you said, kind of word of mouth. Mm-hmm. I'll send some text messages out. We'll put a little camp together, have a large group come in, and then this past weekend, we had my first annual elite pitching camp, a little more structured, organized. It was a 2-day camp. It went really, really well. It was Ray and I working together. Adam was also teaching the infield portion, because as a pitcher, you got to be able to field your position. You can't just be a pitcher. You got to be a complete pitcher. So the camp really gave the whole the complete pitcher look, working with Ray on sports performance part. What do you do after you pitch as far as your training, your recovery? Yeah. They did their bullpens with me. We got their velocities, which everybody wants to see how hard you throw. Then we took them into the video room. We broke each player down in front of each other so they could see each other, get evaluated. They may learn something from someone else. And kind of going back and forth there, that's another reason I like the group of four. A kid may hear me say something to another kid, and he may pick up on that before he even steps foot on the mound. So, unfortunately, this is my third surgery, and I have had to sit back and miss 3 seasons of playing. So I was very observant, missing that time. I learned a ton just by sitting back and watching.
Yeah. It might have been a blessing in disguise, because in between the lines, I hear a coach coming out. I hear a mentor coming out. And you seem like an old soul to me. So who knows what is beyond your baseball career? I mean, you're hoping to get back on the field?
Of course. I hope to play for as long as they'll let me. As soon as they tell me to go home. This will be my 11th year coming up. I'm hoping I can make a full recovery again from Tommy John surgery, and things are going great now. So hopefully I can continue my career for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, however many more years that God wants me to play. But after that, I'd love to be a mentor, a coach. I love the game. It's my passion.
I see it.
It's my knowledge. Yeah. I mean, that's where it's at.
So did you grow up as a kid, like these kids that are coming into the camp saying, one day I'm going to pitch at UNC?
I mean, my sophomore year in high school, things started to kind of pick up for me. And obviously, being a Carolina fan, we don't have enough time to talk about that. But that's where I wanted to go. And, not many people have, can fulfill that dream. I did. It was fantastic. At that point, that was my major leagues, pitching at Carolina. Yeah. And now having to actually pitch in the major leagues is great. It's one of the coolest things I've ever done. but my time at Carolina was second to none.
Yeah. A couple of months ago, I had the privilege of having Emma Landry on. She's 18 now, I think. She's going to UNC. She just got in, and she's playing a lot of tennis, as Ray alluded to. But that glint in her eye, she was talking about Clemson and NC State and all the places she was going to apply to, and UNC was her ticket, and she got in, and she can't wait to go. And it's got to make you feel good to see kids like that when they're coming in at baseball, when they have this wide-eyed look. It's almost like a Field of Dreams type of innocence that, you had it, didn't you?
I did. Oh, yeah, I definitely had it.
You still have it.
I still have it. Even playing at the highest level, I'm still a fan of the game.
Yeah.
And I've been very fortunate to meet a bunch of Hall of Famers, a bunch of really important guys in our game. And at that moment in time, I am a fan, and I am wide-eyed, and I want to talk to them, and I want to pick their brain.
Okay, so as a fan of the game, I have to ask you this. Nolan Ryan.
Got his autograph, met him.
Okay. Okay. I grew up watching Nolan Ryan. He was at the time he was the youngest pitcher on the Mets staff in 68, 69, whatever. His longevity and the velocity that he had went beyond anything that anyone in the game ever had, and he was in the game for so long. The sports performance and conditioning wasn't as much on the plate as it is today. How did he last so long? What was it about him? Are you familiar with Nolan Ryan?
Yeah,
I'm looking at Ray.
That might be
Very
a sports
familiar.
performance question.
Well,
I don't know.
Well, I think
Amazing
but
mechanics.
Yeah,
Well, but
amazing
look at-
mechanics.
Yeah, amazing mechanics. But look, you don't have very many of those.
Right.
If you look over history,
That's
you don't,
right.
You have your one-offs that are going to be there, and they're going to play for a long time, and they're going to be able to sustain. But you don't have very many.
No.
So he's one of those natural God-given talents that was able to sustain it and take care of himself. But there's only one Nolan Ryan. There's not.
Right.
You can't put too many people in that category.
Right. Yeah. It's interesting with the conditioning. As a pitcher, you said you've had your third surgery. So the average lifespan for a professional baseball player, especially as a pitcher, a lot shorter than a 9-inning player, an everyday all-position player.
Yes, sir. Very true. But today it seems like the medicine and the technology is so much more advanced than it was. Where Tommy John surgeries now are almost looked at as he had a bad cold. Everyone gets it. 2 is not the norm, but I look at it as I pitched long enough after the first one where I had to have another one. So we'll see where this one takes me.
So what do you do with the kids today who want to be pitchers, and you know about the incidents of Tommy John surgery? What kind of conditioning or training do you?
That's a great question. We on some of our evaluation sheets that we check off, a lot of that is injury prevention, where we have been lucky enough to talk to some really some pitching gurus that know the game inside and out from the pitching point and the medical side of it. So learn quite a bit of that. So as soon as we see something on video that's a red flag, we have drills put in place to address that immediately.
Things they had no clue about
Rodney.
when he started.
Right.
Forearm
Exactly.
fly out, things
Yeah.
like that were just not talked about.
Just for people who are listening, tell us what Tommy John surgery entails, what it is.
Tommy John, it's your ulnar collateral ligament in your elbow. It is very necessary for a pitcher. And after you have the surgery, it is 1 year minimum of physical therapy before you can compete at that level again. So I had this surgery in May. I am throwing now, pain-free, feeling great. The rehab part of it, the physical therapy part of it, the coming back part of it is not the most fun thing in the world to do, but it's obviously necessary. But if you learn how to enjoy that process, it makes it a lot easier. But it's not fun. The surgery itself it's not painful, but you're in a sling for 6 weeks after. You can barely straighten your arm out. There's a lot of things that go into it that's not very fun, but it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
It is what it is.
Being under the watchful eye of Ray Baer, does he have some tips for you in your recovery?
He's actually scraping me tomorrow. He's going to do some treatment on me tomorrow. So yes, ever have any kind of medical question, whether it's from me or one of my guys, I ask Ray.
What's scraping? You mean rolfing?
It's called Graston.
Yeah. There's a lot of techniques. It's
tissue.
It's a soft tissue technique. I'm an athletic trainer as well, so
Okay.
that's my background in schooling. Never practiced as one. I've always been a strength coach, but I've just had the fortunate side to know the medical side, and I've been around a lot of great athletic trainers and professional sports going on where I'm at now. A lot of great physical therapists and that I've been able to mentor under and learn under, that's been able to help me along my career as well.
The Carolina Baseball Shack kind of sounds like the Ivy League of baseball camps. This is for the serious-minded, and it's highly disciplined. We're going to come back in the third set talking all about the Carolina Baseball Shack, and I'm going to ask you guys, how come we don't see more about it on social media? And we're going to talk about what we're going to do to make that change going forward. This is All Things Moore County. Welcome back to our third and final set of All Things Moore County, talking with Rob Wooten and Ray Baer. And we've had a good opportunity to listen to both of them, and people have to hear you guys. It's very compelling to listen, and the credibility is very clear. And Rodney, I'm watching you the whole show, watching these guys talk, and there's something almost paternal about, it seems like, about what you've started here with Carolina Baseball Shack. You seem very highly committed to getting this word out and letting people know what it's all about.
We definitely are. One thing I don't know if we talked about yet, but I have a son right in the middle of all this. He works with Ray.
Yeah.
He works with Rob. So I'm getting to see it from an owner's perspective, but also from a father.
Yeah.
And I couldn't be happier. Tryouts yesterday at middle school baseball were incredible. I mean, he's at the top, not because he's a superstar, but because these guys have showed him how to do things the right way. So that's a big deal. We brought Marianne Manning, who's sitting over in the corner there. She don't want any attention, but we've asked her to help us get the word out. And you're really our first stop, as I said earlier.
Yeah.
And so here we are. Rob's going away for the summer to play baseball. We're hoping not to see him again until.
So you will be
after
pitching.
the World Series.
You will be pitching with Cincinnati this year.
All things go well. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. If I can stay healthy and get back to full strength, I plan on being in Cincinnati this year at some point.
Okay. You don't know when that will be, though. I mean,
should
you be in spring training right now?
I should be in spring training right now. Yes. So that is, they want to finish up some rehab things here. I'm doing my rehab at UNC.
Okay.
And once I'm done with that, March 24th, I'm flying out to Arizona to really start ramping up with the Cincinnati Reds training staff and doctors.
Okay. We all read about, we hear about Little League parents, helicopter parents, and you guys are all laughing. Okay. But by the time the child identifies baseball as a passion and the athletic skills seem to be there, you get all this raw talent, and you bring them in, and you see if you can get them through stage 1 and stage 2, right? And that's where the fine-tuning starts and the real training starts. It's not just travel baseball.
No, it's not. You know, you talk about parents, and most parents are pretty good, but there's some stinkers out there. Let's not kid ourselves.
Yeah.
But we always can get along with the kids. That's the funny part.
Right.
It's the parents that occasionally give us a problem.
Yeah.
But we haven't talked much about the Knights Prime or the Blue Knights, which is our travel team, but we have all the parents sign a letter agreeing with what our program is. So, Bill, if your son played, you would sign, and you would hold us accountable to that letter, and we turn right back around and hold you accountable to that letter.
Mm-hmm.
So you know what we're about, and that's worked out pretty good so far. There's always one person that tries to try it from time to time, but that's probably been the best way to do it for us.
Yeah. I know a lot of parents in Moore County who have their daughters in the Taylor Dance Company, and we've had the privilege of having some of the performers on, and they have been with Gary Taylor since they were 4 or 5 years old. The couple of them, one went to Wake Forest on a scholarship, Mary Costanza, and one of the other, Callie McIntyre, is the reigning Miss Moore County's outstanding teen. And these kids are so disciplined, and you see what happens when you develop them from the time they're young. Do you have any prospects at this point they have college aspirations, or is that the next level from the Carolina Baseball Shack? College is the next step?
Well,
Rob?
you know, we would love to have all of our guys play in college, and selfishly would love to have them all play professional into the major leagues. That's not realistic as far as what the percentages tell us. But again, we have guys that are 8, 9 trying to make a travel ball team. We have guys 12, 13 trying to make a middle school team, trying to make a high school team.
Gotcha.
So
okay.
from all levels, kind of what Ray said earlier, if we can get you to perform at one level higher than you were supposed to, whether you were supposed to kind of fizzle out in high school, but we got you into college,
right.
then we did our job.
Right.
Rob, do we have 2 in the 90-mile-an-hour club or 3?
We have 2 guys currently right now that have hit 90 miles per hour in our facility. That 90 miles per hour is kind of the magic number for college recruiters and coaches, and obviously major league scouts to kind of prop up in their chair a little bit and pull their guns out. So
right.
we got 2 guys right now. Obviously one of those is going to North Carolina next year. And the other young man is a junior and definitely has a arm to pitch in college. So we try to reach out. We try to use our networks. I've been fortunate enough to build some relationships with guys not only in the college level but the pro level as well. And I'm not scared to reach out to those guys and say, hey, we got a kid here. You might want to take a look at him. So that might be another perk that we have at our facility.
What's the difference between a college World Series level player and the major leagues?
That's a good question. Your major league players are your once in a lifetime players. I mean, they're less than the 1% of the of baseball players in the world.
Yeah.
The College World Series is more of it's one of the coolest things I've ever played in my life. It was so team oriented. There was no business side to it. There's no money involved. Nobody's making a salary. No one's playing for the next contract. Everyone's playing together to try to win that game that day.
Right.
So it's a little bit different than the actual major league. I mean, the major leagues, I have not played in a playoff game yet at the major leagues. I've been in a pennant race in September where you're trying to get to the playoffs, and you can really see the team at that point kind of come together, and really doesn't matter about your individual stats. It's more about the win or loss at the end of the game. So I'd say that's the difference. But the major league players are they're pretty good.
Yeah. Tell me, you were referencing the facility. Tell me a little bit about the facility. What can people expect to see? Where are you located? We really haven't gotten into any of that.
Well, we're next to Auto Works. That's a hard place to tell people where to go.
I know exactly where you
We're
are.
across from Pine Wild is there, and I'll let Ray tell you what he has, and Rob tell you what we do on the other side.
Yeah.
It's not pretty.
Not pretty.
It's not about the facility and equipment. It's about the people, But as far as the facility goes, Rodney's done a great job allowing me, and he's together. We've been able to put in a small weight room to be able to do a lot of different types of training, and we use bands, we use not only weights, but a lot of TRX, a lot of body weight stuff, especially for the kids. They won't touch a weight until they're mature enough, and that's that's an open-ended question. We won't talk about when that age is, but a lot of what we have is I mean, what you're going to find there, you're probably not going to find too much else in the county, or I would compete with the state with what we have as far as training aids go. As far as we time with lasers and we do all the fun stuff, but again, it's about the people that work there and the people that come in there, and that's what makes it a lot more unique is the experience and skill set and relationships that you build. So.
And the education about the fine-tuning of their bodies last way beyond their baseball career, whether it be in college or the pros, but something they can take with them their whole life.
Here's a win, is whenever I can take a kid that I've been training for a little bit or a lot, and I saw this week, as a matter of fact, and I can say, okay, we need to do your warm-up, and do you know why it's important? And they'll go through it, and then they'll teach other kids when they're coming in. I like to see them teaching other kids and critiquing and pointing things out. Both of my sons have been working with me since they were 9 months old, and I mean they've been in a weight room that long, but my 15-year-old didn't touch a weight until he was a freshman in high school, and now he's squatting 365, almost 400 pounds. But he didn't touch a weight. But he's teaching other kids how to do it correctly. So if you teach the correct form and the correct way to do things, that's the education piece that they're going to carry with them a lifetime, and how to do things the right way and to do it in a manner that's going to be successful.
Yeah. Rob, you played a little baseball in Japan?
I did, yes.
I used to travel to Asia when I was in the jewelry business. I would go to the hotel. I'd get up in the morning, and you had American businessmen there, and you had the local people, and you'd have a breakfast buffet, and there were two of them. One was the Western buffet on one side, had eggs, bacon, grits, breads, pastries, and on the other side you had salads, fish, and you looked at the different, and we all looked like Will Chamberlain on the American side, and if you look on the other side, everybody was lean and mean, and you wonder why we have a problem with obesity with our kids here, with the fast foods and this and that today. So there's also that element of the nutrition that
absolutely
that kicks in too.
Absolutely.
So for 2018, your presence, getting the word out. We live in a world today that's a lot different than it was 10 years ago, where social media is the quickest and easiest way for people to at least start to explore. Because if someone wants to know something about you, they want to Google you, right? And they want to just dial you up on their phones. Different world. You and I were not brought up in that world, were we?
Not me. I'll leave Rob to all that
He
stuff.
He was on the cutting edge of it, right? But having a social media presence, and I understand your daughter is going to be working with you in that regard.
She is.
Get the word
has
out.
been. Facebook, Twitter.
Instagram.
Rob, you take that. It's out of my world.
Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, which I don't have that.
It's too old for Snapchat.
Yeah.
High school kids go, "Oh, you're on Facebook." Oh,
Yeah.
it's so yesterday, right?
So we are very.
That's the first I've heard.
We try to be active on our social media sites.
Right.
That's why we kind of turn these over to Brandy. That's where her expertise is. That's not something that I'm really good at. I do enjoy it. I am on Twitter, and I am pretty active myself, and I have a pretty decent following. So, I do try to retweet or like something that the Carolina Baseball Shack tweets out. Just goes to the followers and try to get some more attention. And so, kind of like you said, the social media, it seems like it's kind of taken over here the past few years, where usually you see a group of people and most of them are on their phone, including me,
taking
looking at
selfies.
it. Well, I don't quite do that. Haven't quite got to that point yet. I have been in some, and I can't say I never have, but it's not really my style. But we definitely want to be active on social media and kind of give people a kind of an inside look at what we're doing. And something that they could kind of gravitate towards.
Is this a 12-month, a year endeavor?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. We're open all year long. We're closed on holidays and stuff like that. We are closed on Sundays, though. That's a decision we made a while back, and we've kept with that.
So if people want to reach out to you and get some information, they call you. You have a number you want to give us we can use?
We'll give you our email address as it stands now is carolinabaseballshack@gmail.com. I have access to that. We also have other people that have access to that will reach out to me or Ray or Adam or whoever the individual wants to get a hold of, and then they will have our numbers or our personal email.
And you'll have it sounds to me like you'll have an a la carte menu of different things, different pricing for different types of training. It's not just one size fits all.
No, absolutely not. We have all kinds of pricing. We've actually got quite a bit of scholarships that we do for people who are in need of scholarships. I won't tell a story, but we've given quite a bit away just in this room for people. We're not doing it for the money. I'll be honest with you.
Right.
Carolina Baseball Shack's not making any money.
Right.
Every dollar we make, we put right back into it.
Right.
And all of us have full-time jobs.
Yeah, that's right.
So, it's just something we enjoy doing.
So this is also a way of, in your own ways, paying it forward.
Absolutely.
And making it better for the next generation of kids coming up than it was for you all.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Right. And so I have to ask you, your son's 14. Does he appreciate what Dad's doing, or does he not? It's a tough age.
He doesn't have a clue. Somebody asked
Right.
him the other day,
Right.
what's it like hanging out with Rob Wooten? I'm like, he doesn't even know he's a baseball player, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
He's a buddy, he's a friend, he's a guy he plays catch with. So it's kind of unique. But
He's actually
someday he'll see.
He's actually my training partner. He trains with me now. He plays catch with me now.
Is that right?
A few years ago, he could not do that, but now he can, which is kind of cool. I've kind of seen him grown up to be this young man and a pretty good baseball player. So I'm very curious to see how he progresses. But he looks at me as a friend, and that's what I want.
Yeah.
I'll add to that. Ray's got two great kids, Eli and Levi. They're awesome. But it's nice to bring my son or Ray's sons to our facility, and we know the kind of men that are there. That's the kind of men we want them to be. That's important.
Yeah.
So.
Well, trust me on this. Your boys will, when they get older, they will look back and they will remember what their dads did. Trust me. They
Maybe.
will.
We'll
No,
see.
they will. And they'll say, how come I didn't recognize it or see it then? And I wish I could have said something. You'll see. It works. The kids don't forget. Yeah. Ray Bear, thank you for coming and joining us.
Well, thanks for having me.
I do want to put you in touch with Gary Taylor.
Sure.
I just have a feeling there might be an opening there. And Rob Wooten. Why do I want to pronounce your name wrong?
That's
I'm
okay.
so sorry. Wooten.
That's okay. There you go.
It was a pleasure to meet you. And, I mean, I get to sit next to someone who met Nolan Ryan, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
And it's a small world. It seems like we just seem to know a lot of people together. And Rodney, it's great to see you, and I wish you all the best of luck. This sounds like a great think tank, a great training facility, a great way to get the youth disciplined, motivated, educated, and to increase a lot of their skills, not just in baseball, but in life.
Absolutely. We appreciate the opportunity to be here.
Yeah,
We
the
really do.
Carolina Baseball Shack. This is All Things Moore County. Have a great week. Thank you.